Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new, shiny, and happy episode of Back to Basics. I am, despite all of the many, many years we've been doing this, which by my count adds up to at least one, I remain to be Pastor Don, and I am joined by everybody's favorite Courtney.
Oh.
Okay, now, I know I try to avoid doing as much editing as possible, but I'm reasonably certain I will try to put a little beam of angelic light or something in there, like kind of like
I've already got the glare of my plant light.
Well, you're already pretty well set up. So anyway, today we have just finished our kind of two-part takedown of Genesis 26 and the final visit to our good friend Abimelech. And today we are going to move on with the story of Isaac and Jacob and Esau and the continuation of that whole stolen blessing plot line we picked up about a month ago. So we are going to do the same thing with Genesis 27 that we did with Genesis 26. There's kind of 2.5 major stories in chapter 27, but it's all kind of one interconnected narrative. So we are going to continue with our tradition of me reading while she hurls digital fruit at me. Or vegetables. We're not open. She might hit me with a legume once in a while. Who knows? We don't get too fancy in here. I'm just waiting for the day I get slapped with a parsnip. So are you ready to continue the story of Jacob and Esau?
Yes, I am.
All right. Well, let's do the thing. Genesis chapter 27. Isaac blesses Jacob. When Isaac was old and his eyes were dim so that he could not see, he called his elder son Esau and said to him, "My son." And he answered, "Here I am." He said, "See, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now then, take your weapons, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt game for me. Then prepare for me savory food, such as I like, and bring it to me to eat, so I may bless you before I die." Now Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to his son Esau. So when Esau went to the field to hunt for game for his father, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "I heard your father say to your brother Esau, 'Bring me game and prepare for me savory food to eat, that I may bless you before the Lord before I die. Now, therefore, my son, obey my word as I command you. Go to the flock and get me 2 choice kids, so that I may prepare from them savory food for your father, such as he likes. And you shall take it to your father to eat, so that he may bless you before he dies.' But Jacob said to his mother Rebekah, 'Look, my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am a man of smooth skin.'"
Edamame.
Edamame, good choice. I like it.
Like, what the hell? Okay.
You're gonna have to be more specific than what the hell.
So, I mean, I was kind of like for a while here being like about Rebekah listening in and being like, "Hey, Jacob, you have to go do this too. Go do it. Like, hasn't he already been blessed by Isaac? I got the impression that this was maybe like Isaac trying to kind of have a moment with Esau before.
Well, what we're dealing with here is
a less favorite son.
We're dealing here with a ceremonial thing.
Except for wait, no, Isaac and Esau were close, right?
Close as brothers, I guess is probably the best way I would put it. Like the jock brother and the kind of geeky brother.
No, not Jacob and Esau.
Oh, you meant Isaac and Esau. Yeah.
No, well, Isaac and Esau.
We talked about this a few episodes ago with Esau, the jock son of the jock father, compared to Jacob, who's the favorite of his mother Rebekah. And this is a continuation of what we saw a couple chapters back. This picks up from a few chapters ago, where we were talking about Jacob and Esau and the selling of the blessing and all of that, which may also be a later interpolation to kind of justify what Jacob's doing to his brother here, so that you can go back and say, "Oh, well, he sold it to me, so I was really just going along with that." Sibling rules type stuff.
Wait a minute. So is this blessing like the same thing as his birthright? Like,
generally, yes. Because
so Isaac's saying he's going to give him his birthright back.
Well, again, there's no indication that what happened a couple chapters ago was ever known of outside of Jacob and Esau. Like, there's no indication that they ever told Isaac what they had done. So this was just kind of like a brothers thing. Like, yeah, I'll definitely sell you my birthright for a plate of food. And they never really mention it to dad. And then comes the time of the dad dying and selling it on. And Esau's long since forgotten this childish thing we did. And Jacob's like, hey, time to collect, brother. It's probably something along those lines. And like I said, it may be that last bit about selling the blessing was a later editorial interpolation to justify what Jacob's doing here, because again, it is through Jacob that the line continues. A lot of different ways of looking at that, but suffice it to say, Jacob gonna get his. Shall we continue?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so where do we leave off here? Oh yeah, but Jacob said to his mother Rebekah, look, my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am a man of smooth skin. Perhaps my father will feel me, and I shall seem to be mocking him and bring a curse on myself and not a blessing.
Potato. So there is the plan here of this being a intentionally misleading thing. Like, oh, he's blind. I can go in and like get his blessing on a loophole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now again, remember that the death blessing is a ceremonial thing, even in the tribes of the time. Like it is the literal carrying on of the patrilineal lineage. Say that 10 times fast. Like, so it is through this blessing that is I am about to die, so you shall continue on my work, my eldest son, and be the continuance of yada yada yada, the covenant with God and Yahweh, and like taking lands from people that we probably should just be intermingling with. Like, so this is a formal thing. In the time before religion, this was the closest to a religious ceremony. It's closer in terms of process to like an ordination than anything. So it's not a small deal.
So it's an important cultural ceremony.
Right. And a religious ceremony, in as much as something can be called religious in this period of history.
So would the rest of the people involved be like, oh, it's, Jacob doing this instead of Esau? Sure.
Once Isaac's dead, who's going to speak for it? Esau might complain, but if Rebekah's on board with it and Jacob's on board with it, who are they going to believe? Like, logistically speaking, they're going to believe Isaac's wife and Isaac's son. On the other hand, Isaac's other son. It's a coup d'etat. But like with any coup d'etat, who you going to believe? Definitely not the people wearing red hats, that's for sure. Anyway. So yeah, so that's what's going on here. So this is an important kind of religious.
Let me know, I did not understand that reference.
What, red hats?
Yeah.
You're living in America, you don't understand about people in red hats doing coup d'etats?
Okay.
Come on.
Yeah, anyway, come on.
Anyway, so it's interesting to note here too that like we have this section where Jacob and Rebekah aren't just saying, yeah, let's do this thing. Like they're figuring out the mechanics of it. Like Jacob, look, Esau's covered in hair and I'm a smooth little baby face. How in the name of our actual God is this going to work? And so they have to think through the problem. So there is narrative problem solving happening here that is very specific. Shall we continue from here?
Yeah.
All right. Perhaps my father will feel me and I shall seem to be mocking him and bring a curse on myself and not a blessing. His mother said to him, let your curse be on me, my son, only obey my word and go get them for me. So he went and got them and brought them to his mother, and his mother prepared savory food such as his father loved. Then Rebekah took the best garments of her elder son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on her younger son Jacob. And she put the skins of the kids on his hands and the smooth parts of his neck. Then she handed the savory food and the bread that she had prepared to her son Jacob. I see the fruit coming.
Well, I mean, there's not really anything to say. Like, it's just there in the text. Like,
yeah, like, nope, we're definitely going to pull a fast one on dad here. And, there is, by the way, there are very few stronger arguments for the fact that biblical marriage is very different than a healthy modern marriage, and the fact that Rebekah is so obviously not giving a crap what Isaac wants. Like, they are not working as a team here at all. And that's noteworthy. Like, particularly as we discussed the relationship between Abraham and Sarah earlier on, like what was her complicity, what was her involvement in that. It's not that different with Isaac and Rebekah. Like, Rebekah is a wife in the sense that a wife is the first among slaves. Like, the affection she has for her husband is marginal, apparently. That standard of the times, man. So
let's move forward because I'm immediately gonna have to pipe up.
yeah, I know. So we're at 18 now, right? So she handed the savory food and the bread that's
Yes.
being prepared to her son Jacob. So he went into his father and said, "My father." And he said, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?" Jacob,
Artichoke.
okay.
You can't tell the difference between his kids' voices.
Old and confused. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
old
He's
enough that
so
his
old. Yeah, they said he's so old he can't
yeah,
see anymore.
old enough that his eyes are shot and he's near death. So, yeah,
You say I
probably.
can't see for a dang without my glasses or contacts, but
And I got to be totally honest. Like, I've got two sons, 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, and the 5-year-old's short and the 8-year-old's tall. And when the 5-year-old takes off his glasses that the 8-year-old doesn't have, there are days where I'm like, wait, crap, which one are you? Like, it's a thing. Like, they sound
I mean, in
similar.
fairness, they are two brothers who look a tremendous amount alike.
Yeah. So, like, there's a lot going on there. They are very different in certain key ways, but they're not twins. So, in any case, he goes into his father. He says, "My father." So Jacob says to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Now sit up and eat of my game so that you may bless me." But Isaac said to his son, "How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son?" He answered, "Because the Lord your God granted me success." Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Come near that I may feel you, my son, to know whether you are really my son Esau or not." So Jacob went up to his father Isaac, who felt him and said, "The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau." He did not recognize.
Okay, pomegranate. Like, is he just that loopy? Like, sorry, I'm about to wax Tolkien for a moment. Tolkien warning.
Mhm.
So like something that I liked in Tolkien's writing is that the great kings of men,
Mhm.
you could
Failed.
always tell. Excuse me, I'm getting over something. You can always tell who the when the culture of men over the course of Middle Earth was going downhill, when the kings would hang on to power, like
Mhm.
long after their prime years had passed,
Yeah.
and as they were starting to dim and all that, and not pass it along. And like the wise kings would pass it along to when they were starting to decline, they would pass it along to their offspring, and not hang on to power for dear life.
Mhm.
Insert metaphor about the Senate here, but
Yeah.
but like, was he really actively in charge still when he couldn't, when he was like feeling on pelts and being like, you sound like one but you feel like the other?
Well, it's worth noting that Isaac's position was important, but not important in the way we would see an executive position as being important in the modern age. Like, he was
Okay.
in effect a nomadic king, which meant that he had stewards and servants and whatnot who managed most of the business of state, so to speak, for his tribe and family, most of which would have been headed up by his sons. So they were kind of involved in this. So the day-to-day was probably not really handled by Isaac, and probably hadn't been for a long time. Mostly because he wasn't able to, but he had people to do that for him, as they say.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so I would assume it was something along those lines.
All right.
So, but I think it is worth noting too, like we talk about particularly elderly parents, that Isaac is still in there. Like, he's getting duped, but he's interrogating the situation at least a
And
little.
he's like, this doesn't seem right.
It doesn't seem legit, but there's an answer to everything, so I'm gonna go with it. No way, no how would my sons be this deceptive. So like, he asks several questions and like gets
Not my
to a point,
kids.
right? He gets to a point where like, he's like, I've asked enough questions that either this is legit or my sons are deliberately pulling one over on me to such a degree that it ain't worth fighting. Like, if they want it that bad, the hell with it. And yeah, like, there is a lot to interrogate about parental relationships here, and the blindness of a parent to his child. Like, there's a certain degree here.
There's a metaphor at play.
You know, there's a certain degree here where I got to be honest, like a parent should be aware and cognizant of their children's flaws as much as they are their praises and successes. And this is kind of weird because you would expect with the favoritism relationship between Jacob and between Isaac and Esau, that he'd kind of not have that same relationship with Jacob. But he here does not appear able to grasp the duplicity of his son in a way that is almost loving. Like, it's weird, but when you think about it, like, you know, if he had an adversarial relationship with Isaac, his first move would be here, like Isaac, or I'm sorry, I keep screwing up the names. An adversarial relationship with Jacob, his first move here would be like, this seems weird, Jacob. This is definitely Jacob. Bring your mother in here and let's confirm this shit.
Right.
But there is a level of trust extended to the situation here that suggests more love for Jacob than we have otherwise seen in the text. And I find that interesting, the duality of this relationship. Like, he has a clear favorite, but he loves Jacob enough that he doesn't mistrust him in the way you would think he would here. So, you know, I am large and contain multitudes, humans are complex. That is, there is that complexity present here in the text, and I think that's important to grasp. Shall we continue?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
All right. Okay.
We're at 23.
Yeah. So the voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. He did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like his brother's Esau's hands, so he blessed him. He said, "Are you really my son Esau?" He answered, "I am." Then he said, "Bring it to me so that I may eat of my son's game and bless you." So he brought it to him, and he ate, and he brought him wine and drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Come near and kiss me, my son." So he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his garments and blessed him and said, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field the Lord has blessed. May God give you the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and plenty of grain and wine. Let peoples serve you and nations bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you." So I think produce here, regardless, this is a good place for us to pause here for any follow-ups before we move on.
No, I just see that the next big twist is coming up next.
Yeah, it's a hell of a twist. It's a hell of a blessing. And I think we might put this off for the next episode. We've got a good chunk in here.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and this ends
with
with
a good place to come in.
This ends with a hell of a blessing. And I will say that there is the lordship component of this blessing. Be Lord over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. Couple of components in that I think are really interesting to note. First off, just simply conferring lordship and rulership within the blessing is either cool, interesting, or terrifying, depending on which way you want to look at it. But also the very specific wording of "may your mother's sons bow down to you." There's an allowance being made here that we don't necessarily think about. He's allowing for the possibility that Rebecca might have more sons after he passes. We'll wait and see if that plays out at all, but like it's worth recognizing that covenant and blessing were the ancient community's versions of a legal code. So this shit did kind of matter. So the way this blessing was put together gives him the authority, and the scope of the authority is determined by the way the blessing's put together. And like we talked about that a lot with covenants, like between Abraham and Abimelech earlier on, a lot of this other stuff. Like, this is not a new thing, but there are a couple of keys in here. I mean, as we get lost when we're reading the Old Testament and how poetic and beautiful it's meant to sound, but it's also a bit of a legal contract. And so the authority he's being given here is being fairly clearly laid out. Like, you get dominion over all of this. You're in charge of all your brothers, every last one of them. If your mother has more, you're in charge of them too. Like, it's very clearly spelled out. And so we're going to see what the reaction is to this next time on Back to Basics.
You've pulled off your ruse. Now what?
Yeah, exactly. The coup has begun. Let's see how it plays out from here. In the meantime, all the usuals apply. Discord server, man, where the chats are happening. We got a bunch of different Bible studies popping up. There is monthly worship here. We got a whole second series that by the time this episode's airing should be either out or about to come out. So I really want to encourage you guys to check that one out too, because it's going to be a barn burner of a series. In the meantime, any one other thing you could do would be to do our favorite 3/4 things.
Like, share, and subscribe.
And comment.
And yeah, comment. And yeah, do check us out on the Discord. Come share fellowship and memes. There's a channel called Fellowship and Memes.
Specifically for the sharing of those two things.
Yeah. Yell into the void with us. We have a Yell into the Void channel.
And boy, there are memes. And if you see a Star Trek meme, it's probably for me because I love those.
All right. So come have fellowship with us. Come break bread with us. We want to be your friend.
We want to be your friend. Won't you join my neighborhood? I'm like a sweary Mr. Rogers. I'll take it. In the meantime, have a great week. We will see you in the next episode. Bye, everybody.
Bye.